I really thought I lost my mom, my dad, my dog, so I thought I lost everything I cared about. That's all I mattered about is them.
Terry Williams' worst fears became a reality Tuesday when a fire ripped through his family's home on Grove Street, where they've lived for over 50 years.
Like everything, I just lost everything. Like, you know, everything, all my memories, everything. Like as a little kid, from playing up and down the house, jumping off the wall, doing stuff, it's gone. Like it was burnt away.
They all made it out alive. A miracle, he says, including his 3 dogs. But mystery surrounds the cause of the fire after a string of racist threats targeting Terry remain unsolved.
I go to City Hall, try to take care of something, and then this happened. It's like, feel like every time I'm leaving, like something's going on. Like I feel like I need to stay here and protect my house 24 hours now. Like.
Even so, he won't speculate as to how the fire could have started. Earlier this month, community members rallied together and launched a GoFundMe for Terry to install cameras in his home after a noose and a black doll were left in front of his door. The cameras were installed, but the batteries were charging while the fire erupted. During that time, Terry was at City Hall meeting with city officials about the prior hate crimes. Authorities have not yet identified a suspect.
You could tell I don't feel no security now. Like, I feel like they, in a way, they feel like they won the round right now. Like we still in the fight, but they won like 4 rounds right now. I'm like 5 rounds down, and then this right now, I'm trying to fight back. So it's just rough. I'm not quitting. I'm not gonna quit. The only thing is, they want to fight hard, but I'm up against the gun.
Most days, Terry can be seen walking his dogs and his clients' dogs through Alamo Square Park, chatting with people along the way. Members of this community, including Lori Sartori, are devastated alongside Terry. She says the attacks are growing more personal.
See, because they don't deserve any of this. They're really, really kind people. And I don't think anybody deserves it, but especially not this family.
Displaced and on high alert, Terry says he doesn't know where he can sleep, torn between keeping his family and his home safe.
Like my daughter keep me warm. Like, it's my house. What I'm gonna do? I gotta protect my stuff. I can't take no more of this stuff more. This is it's to the point. I don't know. It's just too much now. Like, my sanity is really online. It's like, come on, like.
Left with more questions than answers as he picks up the ashes of the life he's lived.
The Board of Supervisors adopted a resolution condemning racist threats and intimidation of the Williams family. That was actually already on the agenda before yesterday's fire broke out. Rideshare and delivery drivers rallied in San Francisco as the California Supreme Court took up a case that could change the fate of more than 1 million gig workers in California. The justices heard arguments on the constitutionality of Prop 22. You might remember that was on the ballot back in November of 2020, and 59% of voters approved the law after a $200 million campaign funded by rideshare and food delivery companies that reclassified app-based drivers as independent contractors rather than employees who would be legally entitled to benefits. Now, one of those benefits is workers' compensation. In 2021, an Alameda County judge said that Prop 22 violated the power of the legislature to grant workers' comp protections. A state appeals court reversed that ruling last year. Yesterday's arguments before the state Supreme Court centered on whether voters have the same power as the legislature to regulate terms of employment.
Proposition 22 impermissibly conflicts with Article 14 of the Constitution by preventing the legislature from providing complete workers' compensation protections to about 1 million app-based drivers.
This court has held time and again that provisions of the Constitution that vest the legislature with power, even plenary power, to pass laws on a given subject.
Our Katie Nielsen talked with some rideshare drivers about what this could mean for them.
Dozens of rideshare and delivery drivers who are against Prop 22 gathered on the steps of the California Supreme Court ahead of the arguments, including driver Joe Augusto.
I drive with both platforms, Uber and Lyft, and they're twins. They behave the same. Price is the same.
He started driving full-time in 2015 and says in the past few years, his income fell dramatically, especially after Prop 22 passed.
What Proposition did is give them a safe harbor, basically to do whatever they want. is they've cut what they pay the drivers about 20 to 30%. At the same time this is going on, passengers are paying considerably more, they're telling me.
He says as a true independent contractor, drivers would be able to set their own rates instead of the companies setting rates for them.
What is the flexibility when we work more than 12 hours just to make this?
UC Berkeley's Labor Center just released a new study on Monday looking at the average income of gig drivers in 5 major U.S. cities, including San Francisco, and found, on average, drivers were paid less than minimum wage after expenses. The study reported rideshare drivers made an average of $5.97 an hour before tips, while meal delivery drivers made even less, $4.98 an hour before tips.
I always use an electric bike when I do deliveries.
But DoorDash delivery person David Lewis says being an independent contractor allows him to work when he wants, instead of being forced to work a certain schedule, the way he could be if he was a company employee.
It allows me the flexibility to be able to pick up a few extra hours on the side.
Dave says his main job right now is working as a pedicab driver, but he's making about $2,000 a month working with DoorDash.
I don't consider DoorDash to be a full-time job. I consider it to be something that supplements me to be able to make ends meet.
If you want to make an income, you really have to do it like 60, 70 hours a week.
For full-time gig workers like John, he hopes the court will find Prop 22 is unconstitutional, so he can get some of the same protections as other employees.
I mean, everyone else has labor standards and rights, and we're singled out where we have no labor rights, basically, and we don't have independent contractor rights like other people do.
We reached out to Uber, Lyft, and DoorDash. All three said the voters overwhelmingly made it clear they support Prop 22. A Lyft spokesperson added, quote, the Court of Appeals decision to uphold Prop 22 was the right one and consistent with longstanding legal precedent upholding the voters' initiative power. Uber said forced employment would be devastating for the thousands of drivers and couriers who turn to Uber for flexible work, and the millions of Californians who would see major service reductions and cost increases or lose ride sharing and food delivery entirely. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, the average price of a home in California now over $900,000, where Bay Area buyers are finding some more reasonable deals.
You can find a lot of bang for your buck over here.
Plus, we'll meet a woman gearing up for San Francisco's Carnival this weekend. How she is bringing ancient traditions to the forefront today. Plus,
it's a lot different than any other class in this school, and it brings a lot of kids a lot of enjoyment.
A Bay Area leader in education brings woodshop back to the school's curriculum. How she says this carves out a positive future for kids.
The coolest microclimate today is in the valleys of the North Bay, where the fog is still hanging on. This environment lets us take our viewers inside the weather. Microclimates, the fog, the rain, we can explain in 3 dimensions and show you what's going to happen. The offshore wind on our real-time map showing that east to west movement. The way everyone else is doing weather on television is like riding on horseback. This is space travel.
Virtual weather on KPIX. You've just got to see it.
daytime highs today are sitting close to what we had yesterday. 70s in the forecast throughout the Santa Clara Valley. Keep in mind, yesterday we hit the 80s. All the way up into San Francisco along 101, we warm up into the 60s today, close to the 70s we had yesterday, but you're starting to see the trend. We're seeing cooler weather, and that's going to continue to be the case for us day by day as we get closer to Memorial Day weekend. We have 70s up in the North Bay for us this afternoon. Heading into this weekend, we'll dip down to the 60s up into the North Bay just in time for Memorial Day. Now, if you're planning on heading over to Carnival this weekend in San Francisco, we're expecting upper 50s and lower 60s. We'll continue to keep you updated with all the events happening this weekend.
We all know that California is an expensive state to live, and buying a home could be getting even more difficult. The average cost of a home statewide is now over $900,000 for the first time. That is according to the California Association of Realtors. Here in the Bay Area, it's even higher. The most expensive county is San Mateo, where the average price of a home is $2 million. And these are the counties where you can get a deal by Bay Area standards. Our Kevin Coe went to Solano County, the least expensive in the Bay Area, for more on why the price trend there is so different from the rest of the Bay.
Come on in.
Born and raised in Vallejo, Kathy Rojas has been selling homes in her hometown for the past 2 decades.
It's a great house. It's 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths.
Including this one on Long Ridge Drive.
So here is the family room. It's got a wood-burning fireplace.
More than 1,800 square feet with enough room for a family and more.
Come on, girl.
But it's still waiting for an offer in what Rojas calls a quiet buyer's market.
A year and a half ago, this wouldn't even been on the market for 7 days. It would have already been gone. But we're not seeing that right now. We're seeing a lot of buyers just wait.
Things may seem calm, but the rise of home prices statewide continues. The statewide median home price went up 5.8% in a month and 11% in a year. This home in Vallejo is listed at $699,000, more than $200,000 lower than the statewide median. Numbers show Solano County has the lowest median price for a single-family home by a margin of $260,000.
You can find a lot of bang for your buck over here. I think there's great pockets in Vallejo.
Vallejo still offers home buyers a chance to get a large home for a lot less, but Rojas says she expects prices to keep going up.
And once interest rates change, 100%. Yes, because I feel like there's going to be a lot of buyers.
Simply put, when interest rates go down, she expects buyers to flood the housing market.
Hopefully, by that time, the prices won't even go up higher than they are right now. Hopefully, but I just don't see that. I think the prices will go up when the interest rates drop.
Despite rising prices around most of California, the same report found that existing single-family home sales last month were up 4% year over year. Meantime, the Alameda County District Attorney is accusing some insurance companies of undervaluing homes. The Alameda County DA has accused the state's second largest homeowner insurance carrier of providing low-cost estimates that could leave customers with inadequate coverage in case of a disaster. The lawsuit claims Farmers Insurance used third-party software to generate estimates based on zip codes instead of the home's features. DA Pamela Price asserts that Farmers violated multiple California homeowner protection laws and will seek damages and an injunction.
The insurance company has a duty to make sure that a homeowner gets the benefit of the bargain, that the homeowner gets everything that they paid for. And that means when you suffer a loss of your home, that the insurance company has to make sure that you're able to replace that home.
Other defendants named in the suit include Farmers Underwriters Insurance and Mid-Century, a subsidiary of Farmers. CBS reached out to Farmers for a response. They told us the allegations are incorrect, that the company does not seek to provide low replacement cost estimates. Farmers says they plan to speak to the DA to address those concerns and defend their position. Still ahead, honoring Indigenous roots. We're going to hear from one of the participants of this weekend's Carnival about why this celebration is so important to her. And a reminder, you can stream CBS News Bay Area wherever, whenever. Catch all of our live newscasts, plus news and weather updates throughout the day. You can find us on the free CBS News app or on Pluto TV.
Yesterday was a warm day for us here in the Bay Area, especially if you lived off in our inland areas. But hey, I live in San Francisco and we hit 70 degrees. That was beautiful for us. 60s are in the forecast for us today, so just a little bit cooler as we head into this afternoon. We have some gusty conditions along that shoreline. We'll continue to watch those winds really kick up closer to the dinner time hours. So if you live near Bodega Bay, you can see a wind gust anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour. For the rest of us, all throughout the Bay Area, winds will be a little bit breezy into the evening hours tonight. We're expecting 70s all throughout the Santa Clara Valley today, 80s off into the East Bay. But watch what happens as we head closer to Memorial Day weekend. Right around the corner, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we're going to see a little bit of a dip in the temperatures, and then we start to average right back out into the 70s in our inland areas heading into early next work week. Now for the rest of us who live closer to the bay or at least along the shoreline, we'll hold on tight to the 70s for now, averaging down into the low 60s by that Saturday forecast. We'll continue to see cooler conditions into early next week, getting close to the 70s but not quite hitting it.
We are counting down to Carnival San Francisco. The two-day event celebrates the Mission District's diverse culture. This year's theme, honoring indigenous roots. Our Laureen Ayub talked to one of the participants who is fully embracing the theme.
Every rose is a deep symbol of love for her Mayan culture. Maestra Lydia is preparing for this year's Carnival, and the festival's theme is focusing on a topic she happens to be quite passionate about, honoring your indigenous roots.
Bashkawali means, ¿Cómo estás? How are you?
The professor of Mayan and Mexican heritage is the founder of the Mayan Association, where she supports community members new to the Bay Area. Lydia not only teaches the ancient Mayan language, but she's working hard to keep it alive.
I want to preserve, the culture, everything related to our community.
And she's been committed to that vision from her days in Yucatan to her new days here in the Mission District. Through financial support from other like-minded nonprofits, Lydia helps immigrants of Mayan heritage acclimate to the Bay Area. That's why this year's Carnival is so significant to her and her community.
This carnival means a lot for them because, some of them, they cannot leave the country. And that's why we bring in the music for them to listen and to be happy.
But it's not just a chance to enjoy their culture, it's also a chance to share it. Gabby, a recent migrant of Mayan heritage, is looking forward to sharing the uniquely Mayan food from her community. As Lydia prepares distinctly Mayan decor for the float imported from Yucatan, she says the music and dance will bring forth a familiar joy for her community.
I want them to feel like a home.
And home is what they'll be sharing at the festival.
Carnival is this Sunday. You can watch our special live coverage starting at 10 a.m. on Pix Plus, 44 Cable 12, and streaming on the free CBS News app. Coming up in our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, we are highlighting a pair of graduates taking special steps on stage. We'll have their story of love and motivation. Plus, woodshop making a comeback in Bay Area schools. A local teacher gave her students tools to explore new trade skills. I'm Ann Makovic, and this is The Minute. The state trial for the man convicted of attacking Paul Pelosi begins jury selection today. David DePape, already convicted in his federal case, now faces state charges, including attempted murder and assault with a deadly weapon. Speed cameras on the way to San Jose city streets. Officials announcing 33 cameras are going to be placed in high collision areas late next year, part of a state bill authorizing 6 cities across California to launch a 5-year pilot program involving the cameras. And Walmart laying off over 300 employees from its San Bruno corporate office and 180 employees at its Sunnyvale office beginning this August. The company says it's all part of broader business changes to transition employees back to office settings post-pandemic. The Bay Area's only primetime newscasts at 8 and 9 p.m. on Pix Plus 44 Cable 12.
More blue skies are in the forecast for us today with some gusty conditions along our shoreline. Anywhere up to around 40-mile-per-hour winds are expected today in certain pockets of the bay. We'll dive into that in just a second, but here's our weather headlines. It's not as warm today compared to yesterday, at least. Yesterday we hit the 70s near San Francisco, close to the 90s off into the East Bay, but slowly we're starting to cool down as we get closer into our holiday weekend. We're going to see cloudier skies around the corner for Memorial Day, and to add to that, those temperatures are going to start cooling down fast. Now here's those winds I was talking about. Wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour are expected near Bodega Bay. It gets gusty into this afternoon, close to the 5 o'clock hour near our coastline, and we'll see that onshore wind really impact our inland areas too. That'll start to average out a little bit more as we head into the rest of this week. Low pressure dips down. That cools us off a little bit as we head into the weekend forecast. And like I said, it delivers those clouds too as we head right around the corner. But today we're still dealing with these blue skies, and temperatures are kind of close to yesterday, just about 3 degrees cooler near San Francisco, about 4 degrees cooler over into Oakland. And keep in mind, we're going on day 18 of no rain in sight for us, and we're continuing to see these dry conditions actually last into our holiday weekend forecast. Now down into the Santa Clara Valley we go. 70s are in the forecast for us throughout this afternoon. Watch what happens as we head into our Friday to Saturday setup. 70s quickly turn into 60s. There's those clouds I was talking about. No rain luckily, but it stays dry into early next week with a gradual warm up into the upper 70s once again by Monday. That's our inland areas. As we head all the way to the coast and along the shoreline near San Francisco, we're going to see some 70s trickled in there as we head into our next couple days, cooling down into the 60s into this weekend, and by early next week we'll see some upper 60s return with partly cloudy skies sticking around.
Today, UCSF researchers have received $12.45 million from the National Cancer Institute to lead the study in finding out what drives cancer in Asian Americans. That includes lung cancer, which is the second most common cancer in both men and women in the United States. A Bay Area-based study finds that 80% of Asian American women with lung cancer never smoked. They're also 1.5 to 2 times more likely to be diagnosed than any other racial group. Our Elizabeth Cook talked with researchers and patients who are working to figure out what is behind this.
Vicki Nee doesn't take walks like this for granted. Each step has a purpose, and she's rarely by herself. And if you happen to pass them, you might think these are just 2 friends catching up. But the women who join her all share a common bond. They all have stage 4 lung cancer.
Living with stage 4 cancer means that you have, a bomb strapped to your chest, and it could go off at any time.
It all started 5 years ago when she got a call from her doctor.
But I remember vividly that he called me while we were out having dinner and left a voicemail.
Before she knew it, Vicki was sitting in an oncologist's office.
The word cancer comes out of the doctor's mouth, so that's kind of not good.
Vicki never smoked a day in her life, but yet this 48-year-old mother of 2 has stage 4 lung cancer.
I was asking them, I'm like, okay, so how long is treatment, and when are we done with this? And no one had told me up until then that it was stage 4, so it was incurable. And so, I would basically have to live with this condition for the rest of my life. And the best case scenario is that I live with this condition for the rest of my life.
Vicky is now 53, and the treatments have been brutal. They've given her high blood pressure and high cholesterol. The cancer has now spread to her abdomen. But it's not the physical side effects that hurt the most. Vicky has 2 daughters who were 13 and 15 when she was first diagnosed.
They know that I have cancer, and we don't talk about sort of staging. We don't talk about cures or anything like that. They just know that I've had cancer for 5 years now.
A few years ago, Vicky was asked to participate in a research program at UCSF called FANS. FANS standing for Female Asian Never Smokers, launched 15 years ago by Dr. Scarlett Gomez and Dr. Iona Chang, a first-of-its-kind study in the U.S. on why lung cancer rates were rising among Asian females who never smoked.
Lung cancer rates actually have been declining over the past several decades. But what was sort of emerged as an unusual observation is that the exception to that trend was among Asian American females.
The doctors hope the FAN study leads to the development of more preventative measures and screening, but also grab the attention of the folks with the deep pockets. Right now, less than 1% of funding from the National Institute of Health goes to diseases that impact the Asian American community.
There is this perception that Asians don't get sick. We have very low rates of disease, and so NIH, to the extent that their primary focus is to fund health research, relies on those statistics.
It's just made us very strong advocates to really give a voice, to be able to speak out about the need to look at specific Asian ethnicity populations, to give them representation, to provide the data.
Vicky isn't spending her energy wondering why or how she got lung cancer.
Well, when you get diagnosed with cancer, I think you learn to control the things that you can and let go of the things you can't. And I have not tried to probe why I got cancer. I don't think it's like a healthy exercise.
Instead, she's turning her pain into purpose by reaching out to other women like 34-year-old Kit Ho, who she recruited to also be part of the FAN study.
If my tissue, if my saliva can help the researchers to find more medicine or find more ways to identify people early, then I want to be part of it.
Kit was diagnosed on Thanksgiving of last year. Doctors discovered 4 tumors in her brain that they believe were linked to lung cancer. Just like Vicky, she never smoked. She's also a mom.
I was just thinking, why did I get it? So, yeah, and the most thing I was thinking when I was diagnosed was my 2 little kids, because they are 2 and 4. And lung cancer, being a nurse, I know it's not a good outcome.
Kit will often join Vicky on her walks. They are allies in the same fight.
It's like a safety blanket for me to know other people are in the area.
If cancer has taught her anything, it's that life can change in an instant. Vicky is focusing on the things that bring her joy, family, friends, and helping others know that even in their hardest moments, they won't have to walk this path alone.
I want to do everything I can to make this diagnosis sort of meaningful for the world.
The FAN study looked at patients' genetics and family history, as well as environmental and lifestyle exposures. They're still looking for participants, especially older Asian women who do not have lung cancer. To join the study, for more information, go to our website, kpix.com. In San Francisco's Chinatown, turning tragedy into motivation for families as our Roots and Resilience AAPI month coverage continues. Susan Liu, who lost her mom to a botched plastic surgery almost 30 years ago, is back here in the Bay Area with a new memoir. It tells the story of her grief and her growth, and now how her mother's story is helping spark a change for future victims of medical malpractice.
I've come to this building so many times looking for answers, and a part of me feels that I found that answer, and now I can let it go. Seeking the truth was how I would avenge my mother's death.
A remarkable fight for justice and healing. You can watch that coming up on our news later today at 5 p.m. About 8,000 San Jose State University students will graduate this year as part of the class of 2024. Spring commencement will have several ceremonies over the next 3 days, beginning today. Sean Chitness is on campus with a look at two graduates who have made their commencement and their final semester at the school a family affair.
Getting a graduate degree is already plenty of work. Add on top of that having a job and trying to be a supportive spouse. Well, there's one couple that got the same degree together while married and had a kid before they graduate. Today, they get to celebrate. Fernanda Renteria Gonzalez and David Salinas have already walked down the aisle together. And on Wednesday, they'll take some more special steps together on stage as graduates of the class of 2024.
We told ourselves that no matter what, we were going to finish, and that's what we did.
Both will receive their master's in counselor education from San Jose State University, the first in their families to get a graduate degree.
It was incredible to have a partner that can relate to the same topics we were talking about, the same classes, having the same classmates, similar projects.
David plans to focus on at-risk youth who may be around gangs growing up, while Fernanda wants to advise low-income first-generation students. But well before they can put their new degrees to work, they've already changed plenty of diapers for their daughter.
It does take a village, and that's something that I don't think you know until you actually have a baby, and then you're like, wait, it really does take a village.
Violetta was born in their final semester of the program and is just 10 weeks old. She showed up on a Saturday, but these two made sure to attend class on Zoom by the following Tuesday. There were many advantages to having a partner who is also your classmate, but some days it did add just a little too much stress to being a student.
Oh my gosh, like am I going too slow? Am I going to meet the deadline? Wait, you already started that assignment? Yeah. Oh man, I'm way behind. I haven't even looked at the prompt yet.
Support from their peers and family made the last stretch of this journey possible so they could get to graduation day.
You too can pursue your master's and your higher education.
Take us as an example of we can do it, you can do it.
United in a common goal and now bonded by a shared university education to do the important work of helping others achieve the same dream in the future. And these graduates already thinking ahead about what it will be like to counsel students who have gone through a similar experience, those that are already married and those that are parents. They believe they'll be able to better advise them now, having gone through this together.
Well, coming up next, as we are counting down to Carnival San Francisco, we look at a major issue plaguing many of the people who make the Mission District so vibrant.
Daytime highs today are sitting close to what we had yesterday. 70s in the forecast throughout the Santa Clara Valley. Keep in mind, yesterday we hit the 80s. All the way up into San Francisco along 101, we warm up into the 60s today, close to the 70s we had yesterday, but you're starting to see the trend. We're seeing cooler weather, and that's going to continue to be the case for us day by day as we get closer to Memorial Day weekend. We have 70s up in the North Bay for us this afternoon. Heading into this weekend, we'll dip down to the 60s up into the North Bay just in time for Memorial Day. Now, if you're planning on heading over to Carnival this weekend in San Francisco, we're expecting upper 50s and lower 60s. We'll continue to keep you updated with all the events happening this weekend.
In San Francisco, we are counting down to Carnival. It is the largest multicultural celebration in California. More than 400,000 people attend the two-day event every year. Latino community leaders are all about celebrating milestones. But as Kenny Choi shows us, they're also shining the spotlight on a major problem for many in their community.
When Maria Reynosa's husband got deported to Mexico, she understood her journey would come with struggles, including cleaning 3 large homes a day, with most of the payments going to the small business she worked for.
I started almost 9 years ago with $80 a day.
That's $26 and change per home, and less than $9 an hour. At the onset of the pandemic, when she couldn't find much work, she began volunteering at the Mission Food Hub, which launched food distribution days to 3 times a week.
The people asking for a little bit more, so I'm telling maybe 2 or 3 pieces more.
Reynosa not only served, but also received much-needed food assistance. Lately, it's a challenge as the hub recently reduced distribution to once a week.
The rest of the month, what do we do? I need to looking for the food pantry.
Roberto Hernandez is founder of the Mission Food Hub. With office vacancies still at all-time highs, essential jobs depending on workers commuting to the city have hit hard times, and the demand for food hasn't faded.
What happened to the janitor that was working there? When you think about the hotels, all the people that work in the hotels aren't being filled. What about all those workers?
Hernandez says the hub served 9,000 families per week at the height of the pandemic. He still sees Reynosa helping at the warehouse, despite her cleaning business recently growing to serve 7 clients.
Having, a family and all the struggles, she's has brought so much life.
With a stronger command of English and a decade of adapting to a once foreign country, Reynosa believes she could find a better paying job with health benefits. But her teenage son has special needs and multiple therapy sessions a week. She's building a small business on her own for the flexibility it allows to take care of Jonathan.
I feel stressfully because I need to work. It's only me and him, nobody else.
That's why she visits food pantries. It's an assist she one day hopes she won't need.
I'm working hard, so when I feel exhausted, I'm thinking about you. You needed me, so that's why I make it strong. That's why.
It takes courage to tell one's story of struggle, but she's sharing it, knowing it could help the ones who need it even more than her.
Now, Hernandez says the Mission Food Hub is not getting the government funding or donations that it once did during the pandemic, and that they're seeing more newcomers come and visit, and they're running out of resources. All right, you can watch our live special coverage starting at 10 a.m. this Sunday on Pix Plus, Cable 12, and streaming on the CBS News app. Turning to football now, it is going to be a while until we see the 49ers back at home, but our Matt Lively got a look at some of their practice on the field.
It's time to put the Super Bowl in the rear-view mirror. The San Francisco 49ers hit the practice fields in Santa Clara on Tuesday for OTAs. There were a couple of new faces in red and gold, but also some absences that raised eyebrows, like Brandon Ayuk.
Anytime it's the business part, you try to respect it, stay out of it as much as possible, and look forward to the days when we can just focus on football.
But Deebo Samuel was present in rocking his new jersey number.
I think 1 can be a risky number. if you're not slimming. I thought it was risky, and he said it was going to look good. I think he's right so far.
Nick Bosa was here at OTAs after holding out last season until almost week 1.
For all of us to see that, it's like, all right, if Bosa's taking it serious, then we all should.
I think it's just good to get around the new guys. We have a lot of new faces.
He also spoke on his QB's developed leadership.
I don't think he's somebody that's going to change even when he gets paid next year. He kind of reminds me of Scotty Scheffler, but except for he got arrested.
Are you no longer one of the young guys?
Yeah, man, I'm a vet.
The Niners will hit the practice field a few more times over the next 10 days before preparing for mandatory minicamp in June.
Coming up, bringing a forgotten art out of the woodwork, the wood shop comeback on one Bay Area campus, and how a determined teacher gave her students the tools to explore new trade skills.
Really, these are applicable skills. You can transfer these skills onto anything, whether it's not just job related, but also just around your home, fixing things for yourself, knowing how machines work.
Yesterday was a warm day for us here in the Bay Area, especially if you lived off in our inland areas. But hey, I live in San Francisco and we hit 70 degrees. That was beautiful for us. 60s are in the forecast for us today, so just a little bit cooler as we head into this afternoon. We have some gusty conditions along that shoreline. We'll continue to watch those winds really kick up closer to the dinner time hours. So if you live near Bodega Bay, you can see a wind gust anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour. For the rest of us, all throughout the Bay Area, winds will be a little bit breezy into the evening hours tonight. We're expecting 70s all throughout the Santa Clara Valley today, 80s off into the East Bay. But watch what happens as we head closer to Memorial Day weekend. Right around the corner, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, we're going to see a little bit of a dip in the temperatures, and then we start to average right back out into the 70s in our inland areas heading into early next work week. Now for the rest of us who live closer to the bay or at least along the shoreline, we'll hold on tight to the 70s for now, averaging down into the low 60s by that Saturday forecast. We'll continue to see cooler conditions into early next week, getting close to the 70s but not quite hitting it.
Students at a middle school in Pleasant Hill are getting a break from the books and a chance to use their hands. If you've been around long enough, you might remember taking wood shop. But the elective has been disappearing from California schools over the last few decades. Len Ramirez shows us how it is making a comeback on one campus thanks to one dedicated teacher.
When these 7th graders file into Nicole Manisevich's woodshop class,
They are working with their minds and their hands.
This is the edge router, so it's very easy. You just use two hands on it, and you just go across the edge of your piece.
Kyle Mueller is making drink coasters, and Autumn Kelly is polishing off a new chessboard.
I love woodworking. It's really great being able to put all these big pieces together to make something really pretty like this.
It wasn't long ago that this wood shop at Valley View Middle School in Pleasant Hill was in mothballs. It was closed for 8 years after the previous shop teacher retired. It was part of a larger trend to move away from industrial tech classes in California schools amid budget cuts, teacher shortages, and shifting priorities.
Just last summer, this whole spot here was just completely filled with desks, chairs, any kind of leftover stuff. It was just a big storage facility. It was not workable. We had no tools. Everything was poached, except for maybe the big machines that were too heavy to move.
Nicole took on the challenge of restarting the program to give kids more options.
I feel like now is the time for these kind of programs. There seems to be more backing, more interest, not only district-wide, but I think beyond. How far from the fence was it?
But it wasn't easy. The biggest problem was finding a shop teacher. Nicole taught English, but took woodworking classes at night so she could teach shop herself.
Got it.
She found skilled mentors in the community to help students with the finer points and reached out to retailers and Rotary clubs to help equip the shop with the latest tools and safety gear.
Hands-on learning where the kids get to physically move around is a style learning, kinesthetic learning, but really these are applicable skills. You can transfer these skills onto anything, whether it's not just job related, but also just around your home, fixing things for yourself, knowing how machines work, knowing how to be safe around machines. There's math skills, there's science skills. I mean, this is STEM. We're talking about wanting to do STEM. This is exactly it, these kind of programs.
Of course, safety lessons get pounded into each student before they're allowed to work the power tools.
Power sand first, then switch to hand sanding.
Kyle says the skills he's learning here will help him in the future.
Since I learned this, I know like different trades, and I know how to do like metalworking and like wood shop. I'm gonna like keep learning this stuff.
And Autumn says it's a great way to get the mind refreshed during the school day.
It's a lot different than any other class in this school, and it brings a lot of kids a lot of enjoyment.
Wood shop, the type of class that used to be in almost every school but got swept away, now making a comeback.
While many students might primarily use their newfound woodworking schools at home or as a hobby, carpenters in California earned an average of almost $70,000 in 2022, and carpenters here in the Bay Area earned about $80,000. Organizers of Napa's Bottle Rock Festival are making sure the music stays alive well into the night with their After Dark concert series. They're happening at various venues in the Bay up until next Monday. All kicks off in San Francisco tonight at 7 with Chris Shiflett, one of the guitarists from the Foo Fighters, at Cafe du Nord. Meanwhile, singer-songwriter Mondo Cosmo performs at Brick and Mortar. Bottle Rock is this Friday to Sunday. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories. John Makovic, and this is The Minute. Former Oakland Police Chief LaRon Armstrong says he is running for a seat on the city council. A spokesperson for Armstrong confirmed that he is going to file the paperwork today. Mayor Sheng Tao fired Armstrong in February 2023 after an investigation found he allegedly mishandled 2 police misconduct cases. Oakland has finalized a deal to sell its share of the Coliseum to the African American Sports and Entertainment Group. The price, around $105 million. That sale aims to bolster Oakland's finances and pave the way for a potential $5 billion redevelopment project. Today, San Francisco Mayor London Breed and the mayor of Shanghai, China, signing a memorandum of understanding to continue strong relations between the sister cities. That comes after Mayor Breed visited China last month to shore up relationships with business and airline carriers. The Bay Area's only primetime newscasts, 8 and 9 p.m. Pix Plus, 44 Cable 12.
More blue skies are in the forecast for us today with some gusty conditions along our shoreline. Anywhere up to around 40-mile-per-hour winds are expected today in certain pockets of the bay. We'll dive into that in just a second, but here's our weather headlines. It's not as warm today compared to yesterday, at least. Yesterday we hit the 70s near San Francisco, close to the 90s off into the East Bay, but slowly we're starting to cool down as we get closer into our holiday weekend. We're going to see cloudier skies around the corner for Memorial Day, and to add to that, those temperatures are going to start cooling down fast. Now here's those winds I was talking about. Wind speeds anywhere up to around 40 miles per hour are expected near Bodega Bay. It gets gusty into this afternoon, close to the 5 o'clock hour near our coastline, and we'll see that onshore wind really impact our inland areas too. That'll start to average out a little bit more as we head into the rest of this week. Low pressure dips down. That cools us off a little bit as we head into the weekend forecast. And like I said, it delivers those clouds too as we head right around the corner. But today we're still dealing with these blue skies, and temperatures are kind of close to yesterday, just about 3 degrees cooler near San Francisco, about 4 degrees cooler over into